Hello, everyone. I'm Dawn Westmoreland coming from Asheville, North Carolina, the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains. Been here 19 years. I moved here after I retired from the Air Force. I'm your talk host of the Empowered Whistleblower, which is about blowing the whistle on stories, strategies, tips for more resiliency, courage, and bravery. And I'm so excited about that because when I talk about resiliency, there's so many people out there that have had to overcome, and they're not just surviving what they've gone through, they are thriving today. My show's every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Zone if you're listening in Asheville, North Carolina, because it is syndicated. It could be picked up in Seattle, Canada, the Virgin Islands. It might be the afternoon. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm coming from WPVM, FM LP 103.7, the Voice of Asheville. Today I have Chasity Douyon with me. Chasity, how's it going?
Hi, Don. It's going amazing. So thankful to be here with you today.
And I got introduced to you by my pal, good friend, Dr. Summer Watson, who's a psychologist of Core Women podcast. She said, "You got to meet Chasity." I don't even blink. I'm like, bring it on. Let's meet Chasity. Chasity, who are you?
Hi, at my core, definitely my faith is super important to me. Been raised in church all my life. My mom's a minister, so just really have grown up having a strong sense of faith and community with the people who I've attended church with over the years. I also am an educated woman,
You
have
are.
3 degrees, a bachelor's degree, and then 2 of those masters. Thank you. And then I'm very passionate about sports. I absolutely love football. Have also recently really gotten into softball and love basketball and watching soccer as well.
Okay, you got to tell the world, what are you doing with that? You have a job doing that.
I do. It's wild. I still can't believe it some days when I wake up and get to work in this industry, but it's absolutely amazing. I currently work for a sports betting and analytics company. I'm a live data operations analyst there. And I also get to help a whole lot with our recruiting. I get to recruit
Mm.
scouts for college football,
Oh,
and that is also in basketball as well. I get to recruit basketball scouts. So it's super awesome to get to help other people get their start in the industry. And this company is the way I got my start. And then they brought me on full time this past February. So
oh my goodness. And that's not that far. Well, you've been doing it for just a little while. Did you ever see yourself doing this? I know you love sports.
I did not. So this past August, I found the opportunity to be a college football scout on Indeed when I was just
Ah,
searching for something to do in my spare time, outside of my regular full-time job, and ended up working that from August to January. It was a contract role. And so after that, they tapped me and sent me an email and let me know they wanted to bring me on full time. And so as we worked through things, I was able to start on February 1st. And now, with the role that I'm in, I'm getting to help other people in that same role that I was in. I'm giving them that opportunity to get to do that as well. So it is super awesome. I get to talk about sports every day. So it is, such a male dominated industry,
yes,
but
it is.
I'm super grateful to be a part of it.
And we are super grateful to be having you on the show. That's pretty amazing. Now, what was your life like as a child? Were you active in sports? Do you also want to ask you, do you consider yourself a woman of color too?
I do. I'm very much a proud woman of color. I do my best to, put a good face out there and just not really give in to statistics around what people think I should be like. Education was always something that was very important to me. Even growing up, it was something that my mom instilled in us. She actually had to drop out in high school in 11th grade to help her family and work and things like that. And so in her mid 40s, she went back and got her GED. And it wasn't easy for her. She took multiple attempts at doing that and then was able to, finally achieve it. And I got to see my mom walk across the stage and get her GED. So it's definitely something that she instilled in myself and my brother, and something that I've carried with me when it comes to my education. And in childhood, I actually did play a few sports. I played soccer when I was in elementary school. I tried basketball when I was in middle school. And then I actually played golf when I was in high school. So
Oh, oh
a
my
little bit of everything.
Wow, golf. Wow. I was so shy in high school, and people who know me today is like, no way, no way. I'm very introverted. And I have to tell you, Chastity, it was my debate teacher in Palaca High School, Palaca, Florida, which is North Central Florida. And he made me go with him and play nine holes of golf. And I mean, I wasn't the best at it. What he was trying to do was get me out of my shell. And if I could
Yeah.
find him today and say, look at me now, I'm not that shy person anymore. A shout out to your mom. What's your mom's name?
Her name is Katie, and yeah, most people, spell that with one T, but my mom spells it with two T's, Kattie. So yeah, that's my mom.
That's impressive. Yes, absolutely. I had a brother who got his GED. That is a big deed to do that. And
Oh yeah,
gosh, talk about being unselfish, helping the family out. Yes.
yeah.
So as a person of color, I'm curious because a lot of my friends who are consider themselves Black women, just about all of them have experienced some kind of bias, maybe discrimination, bullying, people who thought they deserved more than them or entitled or, just wouldn't accept them. Did you ever deal with that in your life?
I would say there have been instances where things have been said. Just being a woman who's educated and extremely thankful for the opportunities that I've been presented with when it comes to my education. A lot of times when people talk to me and I start talking, they're like, "Oh, like like." You sound really well spoken, and it's kind of like a surprise to them that I am. And it's something that I absolutely loved and take pride in is the way I talk and the way I present myself, and things like that. So it's always something that catches me off guard when people say that. And then even within the Black community, growing up as a kid, I dealt with having friends who weren't the same color as me. I had a lot of Caucasian friends,
Mhm.
and at the school I went to, it was predominantly white. I went to school in the suburbs here locally in Magnolia Springs, Alabama. And so with that, I had a lot of friends who didn't look like myself. And so I kind of got a lot of grief from the Black community, and that it's like, oh, like you're hanging out with the white kids. And it's like I at times didn't feel like I fit in with either group. With the Black people, it was pretty much like, oh, like you're talking white or you sound white and things like that. And then with my white friends, I wasn't white. So just really had to navigate that as a kid and growing up. And it really took me into adulthood to just come into my own person and who I am and just really accept and embrace the way that I connect with people. I'm so not discriminatory when it comes to making friends. I absolutely love having a diverse friend group. And yeah, I just say that childhood experience is something that I've kind of carried with me into adulthood. But now I'm super thankful for the diverse friend groups that I have.
Yeah, and thanks for your transparency, Chastity. I know I wrote a workbook. It's called Stand Up to Workplace Bullying and Discrimination. And I interviewed a bunch of Black women who are now my friends, my pals. One of them in Atlanta has a last name that sounds like it would be traditionally white. And I know she's very smart and very eloquent. And when she goes to a company interview, she said that right off the bat, they're like, "You're Black."
Mm,
And
yeah.
she's like, "Of course I am." And I'm like, wow, that that'd be kind of upsetting to me.
Definitely. For sure, for sure. My name is actually typically one that would be considered Caucasian. Like my name's Chastity and it's not chastity or anything else like that. I am really thankful for the name my mom gave me. But yeah, a lot of people would think that I was a white female. And then, seeing me as well, then seeing that I'm Black is kind of a shock to them with a name like Chastity. It's just kind of different.
Now, you have a background of not just surviving, thriving, being resiliency. Let's talk about that. what are some of the things that occurred in your life? And you're not that old at this time. I think I would guess you maybe you're in your 20s yet. I don't think you hit 30s yet, but you don't have to answer. But the thing is what question is, what kind of obstacles have you overcome that have been really challenging?
I am proudly 32 years old. I'll put that out there. I'll be 33 in September. But yeah, growing up, there were many challenges that we faced. I was raised by a single mother, and my mother has been on disability the majority of my life. She worked at a sewing factory growing up and things like that. And then about the time I turned about 2 or 3 years old, she had a back injury and had to come off of her job and wasn't able to work. So just, things financially weren't always in favor of us, but my mom kept us kind of, in the know about things like that. So we knew, what we had and didn't have, but I mean, we had a roof over our head, we had food and things like that. So she did her very best to provide for us. And I did have, my dad somewhat in and out of my life growing up. But at the age of 13, I ended up losing my dad tragically to murder. He was murdered by a female. So that was something that a lot of people are usually surprised when I say that
Yeah.
tidbit there. But yeah, she killed him. And the very next year, I lost three very, very close and important ladies in my life in the same year. So I lost my aunt in January unexpectedly to a massive heart attack. And then in March, we lost my grandmother, my mom's mom on her side. So extremely close to her. She helped raise me and things like that. Hers wasn't as sudden. We kind of knew, it was coming. We got a chance to say our goodbyes. And one of the last things she told me was to make sure that, I got my education. So that's why I think I really am super proud of how I've navigated my educational journey, because it's definitely something that I wanted to do for my family and in memory of my grandmother. And then that November, we lost my aunt, and she was like another mom to me. She ended up having kind of a slower progression when it came to us losing her. So she was just, kind of slipping away a little bit at a time there, but ended up passing away in November. So those 2 years were extremely rough. A lot of it, I feel like I was just kind of numb. I was very young. I was 13 and then turned 14 that next year. So extremely young, still navigating, puberty and trying to figure out life and things like that in middle school. But I got to go to a therapist. My mom sent me to get to talk to someone because my friends were all my age, so they didn't really understand or could talk to me about things like that. My mom was extremely, involved in the grief as well herself, with losing so many people that were close to her as well. So she sent me to an amazing therapist. And although I don't really remember much about what I learned in therapy, I know one of the things that always sticks out to me is that she had me write a letter to my dad of what I would have said to him if I had gotten a chance to say goodbye.
Oh,
So that is something that, definitely is a core memory of mine. And just going to see that therapist made me want to go back and help people. And it is the reason that I ended up pursuing psychology for my bachelor's and one of my master's degrees, because I wanted to go back and be a therapist and get to help other young children who were navigating trauma and tragic situations like I did.
I can't even imagine what it would be like to lose a parent, not just to death, but to murder.
Yeah.
And, we're curious, but was the lady found guilty? Was she held accountable? She was. Oh my
She was life without possibility of parole. Unfortunately, she ended up stabbing him over 100 times, but
Oh my.
locked the door behind her and everything like that. So when everything went to court, she tried to plead self-defense, but they were just like, if you were really trying to escape from someone, you probably wouldn't have taken the time to lock the door behind you. Happened to be a night that my dad was at home by himself. My uncle was staying with him at the time, but my uncle ended up being out that night, and the lady knew that. And so she ended up, taking his life and leaving him there. And a lot of things kind of happened after that too. I had a stepmother and just really wasn't able to get a whole lot of things from my dad's house. My dad loved taking videos and had a whole lot of home videos from, his family, from me growing up and things like that. So we would watch them from time to time. But really, by the time my family got over there to get to the house to potentially, get some things for me because I couldn't go over there and there's still, evidence and things like that around. But unfortunately, my stepmother had already tossed out a lot of things. So
Oh, oh,
it's a huge reason why pictures are so important to me now because I don't have a ton of pictures of my father. But, I try to take as many pictures as I can with my friends and my family. Some of them are always just like, oh my gosh, another picture, but they just mean so much to me because you never know when it's that last memory with that person.
gosh, what a powerful statement. It is so
Yeah.
true. Nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah.
So, when you were going through all these challenges, did your friends understand what you were going through? Were they also having similar problems?
I would say not really. And I was kind of like you mentioned earlier, I was a lot more shy when I was growing up and things like that. So I really already wasn't talking a whole lot. So I kind of kept things to myself. I really picked up journaling a lot, and that helped me to, be able to express myself, express my thoughts and feelings. Writing letters to God at that time was something that was super helpful. Just, getting to talk to him and to lean into the faith that I have. But when it came to talking to my friends, a lot of them didn't know how to navigate that. I did end up having a classmate who lost their father as well, the very same year that I lost my dad. So I
Oh,
was able to kind of talk to him a little bit, and let him know, that, I understand how you feel. I'm here if you ever need someone to talk to. So it has been something that I've been able to use for people who've lost a parent, and just being able to have that connecting factor and be able to relate to them.
yes, yes.
Mhm.
So, how are you using your psychology degrees? I love college too. How are you using it in your present day personal life and your work, Chastity? How are you using that?
Psychology is in so many things. Just getting into that major and realizing how many different directions you can go with it. A lot of people think you're kind of going into psychology and wanting to be a therapist or be a clinician, mental health, and working in that aspect, but it really is applicable to so many different areas. Me working in human resources, we're talking to people every single day. I'm conducting interviews. I'm doing assessments for people during the interview process. So I feel like my research and analytical skills really come into effect and into play in my current role in getting to interview people and do those assessments. So my psychology background is really helpful in that. But also it helps to remind me of self-care. Self-care is something that I'm a very strong advocate for because I've experienced burnout before when it came to work and life and kind of being a person that was chronically saying yes to things. And there were good things at times, but even too much of a good thing can be bad for you.
Sure.
And so I had to protect myself and my mental health and learn better boundaries for myself as I've grown up. So I feel like my psychological background has really helped me in my personal life to be able to establish and maintain good boundaries, but then also to best take care of myself and to incorporate self-care into my daily life.
You brought up boundaries, one of my favorite topics, because I've been a coach, a life coach for I think it's been 10 years now with IPEC. And I hear boundaries a lot, Chastity, but it's usually from women who are much older than you, honestly. I know there's younger people with boundaries, but give me an example, if you would, of one or two of your boundaries that you have today.
Whew,
And why
for
do you
me,
have it?
yeah, just one. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Um, for me, I tend to be the friend that if you text me, I will text you back right away. I don't really have a reason a lot of times to not text back right away, but I've really had to set that boundary for myself and let myself know that, I mean, I could be in the middle of something. It could be something as simple as enjoying a TV show I like, and someone will text me, and I'm the person that doesn't like notifications a whole lot, so I'll try to clear it off. And usually by doing that, I will respond to the person. But something that I've just been incorporating here lately is giving myself the time to pause and not have to respond to things right away. A lot of things aren't urgent. It's not urgent to
No,
that
they're
other
not.
person, and it's not urgent to me either. So I can continue my self-care of watching a TV show or just enjoying quiet. Another thing, I guess, would be, maybe two things, but I just enjoyed here recently sitting in silence. I feel like we always, as a generation, especially mine, millennials, and then the younger generations, we have to have some kind of noise. Like there's
Right.
music playing, there's a TV going on in the background. But I've been shutting off my TV pretty much every afternoon here recently and like reading a book, or sometimes I'm just sitting there and enjoying the peace and quiet. I live in an extremely quiet neighborhood, so I'm very thankful for that. And I don't have a whole lot of external noise outside of my home and things like that. So I just get to enjoy the peace and quiet. And that's another boundary that I've been implementing as well.
I love that. I can so relate. I would
Yeah.
always watch a movie. That's my way of relaxing. I don't
Yeah.
watch the news, I don't watch regular TV, but a
Mhm.
good documentary, a good movie. And then I'd always have a certain relative who I love and adore. They always called me, and I said, "Could you call earlier?"
Yeah.
So it's okay. I love them. I'll call them when I'm done watching the movie because I really need this for me. As
Yeah.
you mentioned, mental health and self-care. Glad you talked about your therapist. I think it's so important, mental health. Um, Anybody out there that's struggling right now with anything, whether it's anxiety, depression, they're going through, some kind of a challenging time, any guidance, advice that you would share that's worked for you?
100% has been my faith. Just leaning into my relationship with Christ has been something that I've used to find solitude and rest and so much peace that I can't even explain it, even in the middle of crazy things that I've had going on and tragic situations. But also, like you mentioned, the therapist. Psychology Today, using that website, I was able to find my therapist, and she's local to my area. I've been working with her since at least 2018. And now I definitely don't have to see her as regularly. I'm pretty much seeing her as needed. But I have developed such a great bond with her that anytime I have, positive updates like getting my second master's degree and things like that, like I get to reach out and share that with her. So I just drop her an email, let her know that I'm doing okay. And she's also a Black female. And that was something that was important to me, to have a therapist who could relate and one who looked like myself. So, there are some out there. I know a lot of times in my culture, it's kind of taboo to go to therapy, but it's something that I'm a huge advocate for. I've referred a lot of friends and family members to the therapist that I have, but just in talking to her, we've shared stories with one another of just how we've grown up being a Black woman, and having that person that I can talk to and vent to, but also that can relate back to my story was so important. So I highly recommend people finding a therapist that is one that is they're comfortable with, that they can relate to. I think it's so important to the therapeutic process.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and we just went through mental health month, so
Yeah.
important for self-care. Um, what kind of self-care besides your therapy with your therapist? And that's a wonderful therapist that you're talking about. What kind of self-care do you give yourself? And do you do it every day?
I would say I don't do it every day. I should do it a lot more often. But one of the things that I've really enjoyed and have been doing a lot more is going out for walks. I live very close to a park, and I have a dog. I have a dog named Bailey, a cute little rescue bully hound, part bulldog, part hound dog. And so she loves going for walks with me. And living here in Lower Alabama, where it is extremely hot right now,
Oh, it is.
sometimes we're not getting out there as often as I'd like, but typically in the evening, around 7 o'clock, it gets really nice. And I
Mm.
take her out, we go for a walk. I either have a podcast that I'm listening to, or I'm listening to music, or a lot of times I'm just kind of sitting with my own thoughts, reflecting on the day, reflecting on the things that I would like to see myself have and do, and my goals and my vision board that I've done for myself. It's a really good time to just tap into connecting with myself and also connecting with nature. I absolutely love being by the water as well.
Mm.
There's a place here locally that has a pier, and I absolutely love going there. And sometimes I'll take a journal and sit there and just write down my thoughts, or just, sit there and enjoy the peace and quiet of hearing the waves coming in. It's one thing that I'm super thankful for about living along the Gulf Coast, is that we have so many water access points that it's easy to find somewhere that you can just go and be still by the water. So those are two of my favorite things to do for self-care.
And I understand water is so therapeutic. I feel the same way. When I go to North Central Florida to see my mother, and I do that every couple of months because she's elderly and disabled, I try to get over to a lake, a river, the beach. It's not to get a tan, because now I'm 60 years old. I'm not wanting to get, I mean, we care less about it as we get older, right? I can laugh.
Yes.
It's therapeutic and all.
Mhm.
So if anybody wanted to reach out to you, Chastity, because they just want to connect with you, maybe they want to follow what you're doing with your work, your insights, what's the best way that they can get a hold of you?
LinkedIn is actually the best way. They can search for me, Chasity Douyon, my first name, last name on there. I try to share experience about what I'm doing at work. I also share our open job opportunities. And then I also try to give back. I love helping other people who are searching for job opportunities by giving them job search tips and things like that. So my LinkedIn is a place that they can connect with me. I love getting messages and connecting with people for coffee chats. I've done that several times, so they can feel free to reach me that way.
And just so people understand how to find you, your name, would you spell your first and last name on the air?
I definitely can. Yes. So my first name is Chastity, Chasity, and my last name is Douyon, Douyon.
And I have to say, I've never heard your last name. It just, I don't know, it's beautiful. I love it. I really
Thank you.
like it. Yeah.
It's of Haitian descent, actually.
I was wondering, I was like, Douyon, is that French?
Yeah. It's my brother's dad's last name, actually, but his dad was originally from Port-au-Prince, Haiti, so that's where the name came from.
When I lived in Fort Lauderdale as a child, I was born in Hollywood, and we moved up to North Florida when I was 7. We had Haitians that escaped. Of course, I'm a bit older than you, and I've heard some of the stories. It's just amazing, their bravery. We're down to our last couple minutes. Where are you heading in the next 5 to 10 years? Have you thought about it that far out?
I certainly have. I definitely see myself continuing to progress at the company that I'm working at. I'm talking to them and just kind of laying out what I would like to do as far as my career and professional development. I would love to eventually get to be the lead over all of our recruiting for all sports. The company I work with does football, baseball, and basketball. So I'd love to venture into helping out with baseball as well. And then I also see myself, doing some other things, as far as getting to mentor people is something that I'm super passionate about. And then continuing to get to know more about sports and kind of immersing myself in that experience a bit more. Potentially might have a podcast coming out and everything. So
What would it be called?
so actually this one would be one that I'm doing with a friend of mine. We're still kind of working on a name for everything. So to be determined, but we've been writing down some really good notes and just kind of collaborating on some things already. So I'm super excited about the potential opportunity to get to do that.
What will it be? It will be about sports?
So this one in particular will be about faith, friendship, and also fun. So it'll be with a dear friend of mine who she's pretty much like a little sister to me. I absolutely love her. So we're planning to do one, but I really have considered doing one myself about sports. So that could be something in the works as well.
Well, that's exciting, because I certainly could send guests to you.
Thank you. I would love that.
Chastity, you're an inspiration. You're from Alabama, Southern Alabama. My dad's family was all from Alabama, North Alabama. I've been to Alabama many, many times. There's so many beautiful parts. and the Gulf Coast area is so beautiful. Again, Chasity Douyon, reach out to her on LinkedIn. I am so glad I got to know you better. You're such an inspiration. Thank you for your rawness, your real, your authenticity, your transparency. That helps other people to also go in that direction. To my
Thank you.
listeners, stay empowered. We'll see you next time. And always remember, you can be empowered or disempowered, and I hope you stay empowered. Bye-bye.